Let's go back to Ted Bundy. For how long and in what form did you have contact with Ted Bundy?
5 years. He was on death row that entire time. We visited probably once or twice a year. He taught me a lot. He taught me about his entity, or this beast, this shadow. All these fellows, all of the fellows that I've talked to who are serial killers, they all seem to have this thing deep inside of them, something they can't control. It's almost like an addiction, I guess. But they think that they can control it. They wind up, they can't. They kill, they feel better, and then it rises up inside of them again.
In what manner did you correspond with them, with him?
With Bundy? Well, I corresponded with him by telephone, by letters, and in person.
What was your impression of Ted Bundy?
I liked him. I know that's weird to say. Somebody responsible for at least 36 deaths. But he was very pleasant, very articulate, intelligent. I mean, he's not a genius, but he was above average intelligence, former law school student. But if you didn't do what he wanted you to do, he could turn on you in a second, which he did me. His wife at the time that I was visiting him was a doctoral student at University of Florida. No, I'm sorry, Florida State. Excuse me, Florida State. And he wanted me to buy her a computer. And I said, well, Ted, I have a son in school, two of them in college, one in high school at that time. And I said, if I was going to buy anybody a computer, it'd be them. Well, that was the end of the relationship. He wrote me the next day after I got back home from Stark, Florida, at the prison, that he didn't feel like I was understanding what he wanted to tell me, what he was sharing with me, and he thought it would be best that we terminate our relationship. He said he got information from me from a federal agency, he would never say which one, and they suggested that he terminate the relationship.
Why do you think that he maintained a relationship for that length of time?
I think he liked telling his stories, telling how he did something, why he did something, elevated him to a whole new status within himself. I think he enjoyed that. He was in the limelight. He was a star.
What do you think you learned from Ted Bundy?
I learned a lot from Bundy. I learned that serial killers have ideal victim types. His was college-age young women, long dark hair parted in the middle. He had a fantasy, and the fantasy would come up every once in a while, predicated upon something happening in his world, which he understood or didn't understand. I think there were parts of his life that became very important to him. He didn't realize it at the time, that launched him into killing. He mentioned the role of pornography. He thought pornography played a huge role in his predations. I think the pornography that he found in his, this is weird I guess, in his neighbor's garbage cans. He would look forward to his neighbor putting out the garbage. Then he would read through it and find different kinds of pornography.
Rumor had it that Ted Bundy was also in contact with other serial killers. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. He wrote back and forth with several serial killers. They shared information with each other.
Do you know who?
Yes. He wrote back and forth with Henry Lucas. Henry Lucas couldn't write or read, but he had a nun who worked with him, who helped him with his correspondence. He wrote back and forth, as I understand it from what he told me, to Ken Bianchi, the Hillside Strangler. He tried to write to Douglas David Clark in California, but Clark wouldn't return his... Now, see, this is interesting. Douglas David Clark is called the Hollywood Strip Killer. And being the Hollywood Strip Killer, he killed where? In Hollywood. And he killed prostitutes, mostly. A couple of them were, but most of them were. How many? About 60. Who knows? When I talked to Doug Clark on death row at San Quentin, he said, I'm not writing that son of a gun. He said, he killed people. He killed young girls. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, Jack, you did the same thing. And what's amazing about these people, how charismatic they are, and I think people don't understand that, is when you talk to them, they catch you off guard because you think there's some kind of monster. And they are, for what they do. But they seem so human and so nice. But that's what makes them so good at what they do. And Clark said, I'm not writing him.
Another rumor we heard was that you were invited to Ted Bundy's execution.
Yes, I was. And I decided not to go. I've seen 2 executions, and I don't want to see any more. He invited me, and I was also friendly with the warden at Stark, Florida University, not the university, could be, Florida State Penitentiary, where they execute people in Florida. The warden at Florida was a friend of the warden in Kentucky, in LaGrange, and he was one of my students. So I could have. I was invited. I just didn't want to go.
Did you ever meet any of Bundy's family?
I met his sister one time, and I met. I think it was an uncle. I can't recall the name, but his sister I met one time. He had, I think, 3 sisters and another brother.
You mentioned that you've been in contact with some other serial killers that you have. Who are some of the other ones that you've talked to, and why did they contact you, or how did they contact you?
Some of the other serial killers I've met is a fellow, one fellow's name's Manny Cortez. And Manny's in prison in Oregon. I wrote a letter to Randy Woodfield, who is the I-5 killer. And Randy Woodfield is in prison in Oregon. So I wrote Randy to see if I could get an interview with him. He turned the letter over to Manny. Manny wrote me back. So I visited both of them at the same time at Oregon. Randy Woodfield is the I-5 killer. Douglas David Clark, I just mentioned. John Wayne Gacy, a killer clown in Chicago. Henry Lucas, Otis Toole in Florida. Oh, gosh. Who else? Peoria Simmons in Kentucky. Ed Kemper in California, but he didn't want to talk to me for whatever reason, and I don't know. But total about 15 different serial killers.